Saturday noon live stream. And as you know from our last episode, I did run out of Nintendo Power magazines to read, so we're going to be switching over to the Star Wars Insider for the next few weeks. The subject of today's show, of course, is issue 85, which is for January and February of 06. So this would have been right after Revenge of the Sith came out and several years before Lucasfilm was sold to Disney. So just like we do with the Nintendo Powers, I'm going to go through and basically look at this issue page to page, one end to the other. Probably not going to read every single word of every single article, obviously, but you'll certainly get the gist of it. So let's take a look at the cover here. You got the logo there. Got some info on Star Wars Battlefront 2 up at the top, which, again, had just come out kind of at the time with the home video release of Revenge of the Sith. Exclusive Vader fiction. Vader is born. You got Vader and Obi-Wan fighting on the cover, and then the Vader helmet down there. Who's who in the Delegation 2000. Posters of Episode 5. And then you got some more stuff down at the bottom. Also on the back cover, you have a Star Wars miniatures ad for an AT-AT or AT-AT, whatever way I'd say. Hey there, buddy. Nice to see you. Hello, Chris. Hope you're doing well. And hello to anyone else who might have just tuned in. So anyway, there's that. Inside the front cover, we have an ad for Sid Meier's Civilization. This is IV, so that would be 4. I've never played any of these Civilization games before, so if anyone knows anything about those, let me know, because I'm certainly curious. Like your shirt. Oh, thank you. I got this on clearance at Hot Topic a few months ago. Here we have our table of contents for the issue, and then we also have an ad for a place called Cloud City Collectibles. Not a store that I'm familiar with. Where does it say this is? Norcross, GA, Georgia. So I've never been to the state of Georgia in my life. I wonder if they have a brick and mortar store, and if so, if it's still in business. They have a letter here from the editor-in-chief, Brett Rector. That's a great store. Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. And then these are the books you're looking for. They've got an ad for the complete locations and the ultimate visual guide. Got a nice pic of 3PO down there. Debbie said hello. Tell Debbie I said hello. Got 3PO there with George Lucas. There's a close-up. And like I said, a lot of these books are probably no longer considered canon because, of course, Disney bought Lucasfilm. Like Apprentice, like Master, the cameo that almost was. They got something here about the character of Quinlan Voss, who later was incorporated into the canon. And then there's ads for some figures of R2 units and related droids. Entertainment Earth. And this, they got a toll-free number here. They got a website. I'm guessing that's probably not something that has a brick-and-mortar store. I could be wrong about that. I like the old video ads for movies. Yes, I do as well. And then you got some more letters from fans here. We were looking at those Nintendo Powers a few weeks ago, and they had that section called Players Pulse where people could write in. And it looks like, Star Wars Insider actually had something very similar here. Although I never had any letters printed in this magazine. For that matter, does anybody know if Star Wars Insider is actually still in print? That's a good question. I wonder if that went out of commission when Disney bought Lucasfilm. And over here they actually have production artwork from the Tartakovsky Clone Wars series for sale. I wouldn't mind having one of those, actually. Those look pretty sweet. George Lucas makes donation to King Memorial, plus Peter Mayhew becomes U.S. citizen. Okay, so basically, I'm not going to sit here and read the whole article, but it looks like he donated $1 million to some Martin Luther King charity. And then you got a picture there of the Clone Wars, the Tartakovsky series on DVD. I'm guessing that's only got a print, but I'm pretty sure you can still watch that show on Disney+. And then Peter Mayhew, of course, portrayed Chewbacca in the classic film. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago, but looks like here he got his U.S. citizenship. And there's an article here that says Michael Sheard becomes one with the Force. He passed away. He's probably best known for playing the character of Admiral Ozzel in The Empire Strikes Back. He's the overly ambitious admiral who Vader force chokes to death and then, of course, promotes Admiral Piet. And it's kind of funny if you think about it, because Michael Sheard also portrayed Adolf Hitler in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and Kenneth Cawley, who's Admiral Piet in the latter two movies in the original trilogy, he'd previously played Jesus Christ in Life of Brian, the infamous Monty Python movie. So if you think about it, Vader actually killed Hitler and promoted Jesus. Something to think about. And there's just a closer look at that article. From droids to darts, this is a look at the ultimate visual guide. Then you have some 3D sculpted poster art from Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith. Those actually look very nice. Guessing probably no longer available because this magazine is almost 2 decades old. A little bit of context. I used to work at Tower Records when they were still in business. Tower Records had a surprisingly good magazine selection, and a lot of the time when magazines were out of date, they'd throw them out or they'd just give them to the staff members, so I got a lot of the magazines this way. Although these ones actually still have covers, so I think I legitimately bought these ones. They got a preview here for some of those books they're promoting earlier in the magazine. And then on the other side, they've got a Star Wars collection with like master replica lightsabers. I used to have a few of those Force FX lightsabers back in the day. I don't know if they still make those or not, but those were pretty nice. I actually bought one of those at Sharper Image. Remember Sharper Image? You know, back when they had Tower Records, and I was working there. And then back, of course, when they had, you know, Sharper Image as a mall store. I think Sharper Image still exists, but it's just as like a brand that they carry in other stores. For over 1,000 generations, Star Wars gets ancient in Knights of the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic, of course, was a really famous Star Wars computer game. I think they also had it on Xbox. And that's like, you know, several thousand standard years before the Battle of Yavin. I never really played the game because I was never a huge PC gamer, but I know that era is really famous in, you know, Star Wars lore. And then in more recent years, they have an era called the High Republic, which is just like a few hundred years before the Battle of Yavin. Technical readout set piece, Invisible Hand main bridge. Here they're talking about Invisible Hand. This is General Grievous's spaceship from the beginning of Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan and Anakin have to go rescue the Chancellor. So you got some pictures of him and his Magna Guards there as well. Here's an ad for a store called Brian's Toys. This sounds very familiar. I might actually have ordered stuff from this store back in the day. The saga is now complete. Let the movie marathons begin. Revenge of the Sith is on DVD. Although, as we'd quickly discover, or maybe not so quickly, but several years later, the saga wouldn't be complete because Disney would do their own thing and continue the franchise. I know that's gotten a bit of a mixed reception, although I have to say, I think the Disney Star Wars era probably is more hit than miss, contrary to what a lot of people think. I mean, yeah, there are some duds there, but for the most part, I do like what they've done with the franchise. And then more looks here at Revenge of the Sith, which had just come out on DVD at the time. Got General Grievous wielding the lightsabers he took from deceased Jedi. You got Darth Vader launching an attack on the Jedi Temple with his 501st Legion. He hadn't gotten the wounds that required him to get the armor yet, but this was like right after he became Darth Vader. And then you have the Wookiees on Kashyyyk. As much as I like Wookiees, I really think those Kashyyyk scenes were kind of a wasted opportunity. They felt like a bit of a gimmick to stick Chewbacca in the movie, who did absolutely nothing. And then they got to look at some of the deleted scenes from the movie, and this is pretty interesting. And then, you know, Tales from Revenge of the Sith, they got some other stuff on the other side. You got a picture of CG Yoda there wielding his lightsaber. Like, they talk about Shaak Ti's death scene. And I guess she actually had more than one death scene film. And then she has another one in, like, the Revenge of the Sith video game, I think. I'm not totally sure there. And I don't know if she actually dies in canon, because I don't know if deleted scenes are generally considered canon or not. And then, you know, canon got shook up, of course, when Disney bought the franchise. Right here you have, you know, Vader and Palpatine standing over the construction of the Death Star. And then you've got Galactic Voices. This has some interviews. You got people like, you know, Jim Ward, Rick McCallum, Rob Coleman, Ian McDermott, who played Palpatine, Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin and Vader, and then Frank Oz, who played Yoda. Frank Oz has actually also had a few live-action movie roles. He appeared in the 2019 film Knives Out, and he's also directed films, perhaps most famously directing the 1995 children's film The Indian in the Cupboard, which features a cameo from a living Darth Vader action figure, probably for that very reason. More stuff here. This is on Star Wars Battlefront 2, which again, fairly new release at the time. Kind of released to tie in with Revenge of the Sith. So like you've got levels for the various planets here, plus the ability to play as heroes and villains. I believe that's Mustafar right there. Boba Fett right there, and you got some, space vehicles, air vehicles. Battlefront 2 again added that function to play as heroes and villains. But I almost kind of like the first Battlefront better because it puts you more in that grunt position, and it has more aerial vehicles in the terrestrial stages. The art of Revenge of the Sith, so here's some concept art and things. There's like Vader when he's first getting his life support armor, and I believe that's Palpatine standing over him. Kind of hard to tell because it's a rough sketch. Here you have some Utapau scenes. You got the barge for Padme's funeral, which is not used in the final film. And then there's art here for what's supposed to be Wedge Antilles' father. There's like 3 different characters named Antilles in Star Wars. There's Wedge Antilles, there's a character named Captain Antilles, and then there's an unseen character mentioned in Episode 1 named Bail Antilles. So I guess George Lucas was just a really big fan of that name for whatever reason. More concept art here. You get Mace Windu and Boba Fett fighting, and it's like Boba Fett killing Mace Windu. Obviously that never happened, because Boba Fett lived on to, eventually fall into the Sarlacc, get out alive, and then come back for the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. Throwing over the Separatist room. You got the lizard creature that Obi-Wan rides on Utapau, and then, more Utapau art and the lizard creature on that side. They actually do have some pretty cool artwork and things in this magazine, so I do wonder if it's still in production. You have a fiction piece here by Karen Travis, illustration by someone named Chris Travis. I don't know who that is. Karen Travis wrote several of the novels back in the day. And they got this cool piece of concept art with Vader and a clone trooper. Just more of the text of the story here. I'm not going to sit down and read the whole story. Then you got some more art here. You got troopers and Vader. One of the troopers actually has a lightsaber, so I wonder if this is almost kind of like a prelude to Scar Squadron from the canon comics, or maybe even like the Inquisitors or something like that. There's some more art with Vader. Looks like he has a dying Imperial officer in his arms. Here you got Vader and Palpatine, and you got walkers and troopers marching off to war. Not exactly sure when in the canon this is supposed to be, or it will probably no longer be canon on account of Disney acquiring the franchise and decanonizing most of the expanded universe stuff. Yeah, clean slate. Plus, what a pity, and Sidious, you sure do talk funny. And then they have questions from fans here. Sorry, just clear my throat. But, they talk about Sidious having security holograms, Palpatine and how he manipulated Anakin. And they mentioned, why was R2-D2's mind not wiped at Revenge of the Sith, but 3PO's was? Well, R2-D2 never talks. He just talks and beeps, and most people don't understand him. Got a nice shot of Darth Maul down there as well. And as we'd see in later years, Darth Maul would come back just under the name Maul before eventually meeting his end permanently. And then they talk about things like, various kinds of stormtroopers. They ask about Palpatine's voice changing after his attack from Mace Windu. And they talk about, the various things that went into the creation of the Death Star. So this is like people sending in their questions, and that's pretty cool that they actually took the time to answer these. Who's who in the delegation of 2000? So this is like, I guess, like the Republic senators in Star Wars. Here you have a few familiar faces and a few, not so familiar ones. I mean, you got Padme Amidala, who of course became the mother of Luke and Leia and the wife of Anakin. Bail Organa, who adopts Leia as a baby, portrayed in the films by Jimmy Smits. And he reprised his role briefly in Rogue One, which came out many years later. And then Padme, of course, portrayed by Natalie Portman. And Portman would appear as the character of what is her name? She's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's Thor's love interest guy, Jane Foster. That's her name. And then you got some other characters here that I actually don't know. And then Mon Mothma, who was the leader of the rebellion and like the chief senator rebelling against the Empire. Mon Mothma appeared in a deleted scene for Revenge of the Sith, and that actress actually came back and played her briefly in Rogue One. Got more people here as well, including like a Mon Cala, a few other humans. You got what are they called? Korans, the squid people. I think in the original trilogy, you only ever see one of these guys in Jabba's palace. More characters here I'm not familiar with. And then they have these Star Wars bust-ups collectibles being advertised as well. How to ensure your collection and still 8+ ticket stubs are hot. Padme Amidala is not. So this is like people talking about their collectibles and I guess having their collectibles insured. I got a bunch of autographed vinyl records in the other room. I should probably look into having some of those insured. And they got more collectibles here, including some Padme stuff. They got a figure of Padme as she appeared in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, and then some other memorabilia. A little close-up. And interesting trivia, Sabe, the handmaiden that wears Padme Amidala's makeup in The Phantom Menace, is actually portrayed by Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley, of course, would go on to play in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Here you got something on, long ago, far away galaxy fashion. This is looks like costume design. You got the Utapau people in the background. A Pauan, I think is what they call the name of the species. And then these guys only appeared in Revenge of the Sith initially, but then the Grand Inquisitor that appeared in the Star Wars Rebels series was of this species as well. More costume design on this side, including a look at some of the costumes that were worn by members of the Lucas family. Because, George Lucas played a character named Baron Papanoida, I think that's his name, in a brief cameo in Revenge of the Sith. And that species was later retconned to be called Pantorans, and then Pantorans appeared prominently in the Clone Wars animated series, the CG series, the canon one. Posters from The Empire Strikes Back. Got some pretty cool stuff here. Of course, Darth Vader's featured prominently because, of course, he's like the main villain, and that's the movie where it's his big revelation to Luke Skywalker. You got a few more of the classic posters, and even some rough art on this page as well. And even more rough art here, and then plus you have some stuff from other people who contributed poster artwork to the franchise. Unleash your inner collector. Here we got some more waves of figures. Looks like you got some Hoth characters like Snow Troopers, and even the what do you call it? The Wampa, the ice creature. Yeah. The space battle on paper, the Iron Chef of filmmaking, plus the well-traveled lightsaber duel. I'll look at some more behind-the-scenes stuff from Revenge of the Sith, which, again, understandably, they were really pushing because it had just come out on DVD at the time. You got an online chat here with Matthew Wood, like the big sound guy for Lucasfilm, who, of course, perhaps most famously voiced the character of General Grievous, and then would reprise that role in the CG Clone Wars series. More concept art here, and even some, little comic strips. Yeah, Bantha tracks by the fans, for the fans. So these are like the legions of fans that dress up as characters and, display their Star Wars love. I guess this is what like Star Wars equivalent of cosplay. I don't know if they really use that term for Star Wars, if that's more just the term they use for anime, but And on this side, you actually get some cool like envelope art. I remember Nintendo Power let people send in envelope art illustrations over the years, and I illustrated a few, but I don't know if they were ever in the magazine. So looks like Star Wars Insider did something pretty similar. The Way We Were, they got a picture here of Matthew Wood, the voice of General Grievous when he was 5 years old at Disneyland, which is ironic because Disney later acquired Lucasfilm and Star Wars. And here they're like ranking the characters. That's like an old ranking list. It looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi topped the list. Yeah, Give Them the Galaxy. Get it all for only $19.95. Looks like that's an ad for Star Wars Insider and the fan club. So, members only events, collectibles, discounts, 6 months of hyperspace. I guess that's like an exclusive online thing. Then they got these busts available of the Clone Troopers. Collector's picks. So these are just like some random cool collectibles that were being promoted at the time. More collectibles here. They actually have a picture of a Star Wars Saga edition of Monopoly. I actually had the original classic trilogy Star Wars Monopoly. I might have that like over at my parents' house somewhere still. And on this side, you got like DVDs, video games, and keychains and stuff. And then on this side, it looks like you can even get Star Wars personal checks. I of course never got these. I've just got the generic checks I got from the bank, but these actually look pretty cool. Again, this magazine's like 20 years old, but I wonder if you can still get something like this, or if Disney's pushing something like that because they own the franchise now. Anyway, that about does it for this issue of the Star Wars Insider. I do have a few others I bought during the year I worked at Tower Records. So next weekend, if I do my live stream as scheduled, we've got this issue, which covered, this was March and April of 2006. Got a nice shot of Yoda on the cover. So that'll be the subject of next week's live stream. So hopefully some of you will tune in for that. Not sure how many people are watching right now, if anybody, but any parting shots or any last-minute remarks you might want to make, regarding Star Wars, regarding the magazine, regarding anything else I do on the channel. Okay, it's pretty quiet now, so I'm going to end the live stream at this time. I want to give a great big thank you to everyone that tuned in. It's you guys that really keep me going on this channel. Just trying to keep growing it. Please spread the word if you're a fan. Please watch my other videos. I've got some previous live streams that are archived on here as well for Nintendo Powers. So please, again, check all that out if you're a fan. This has been Taylor T. Carlson, and I will see you on my next live stream.